To make a lot of females mad, but I think it's time that we stop congratulating women that leave men in relationships. Like, good job, girl. He was a piece of shit anyway. I knew that you could leave him. Meanwhile, old Sally hasn't given her man Pound Town in over a year, and her man's mentally drained, going insane, finally steps out, and Sally notices that Tom's cheating, and now he's the fucking problem. I think we really need to start normalizing that most of the problem in good marriages that were good in the beginning, and because the woman wasn't holding up her end of the relationship anymore. Oh, I'm too tired. Oh, my stomach hurts. Oh, I have a headache. I don't want to right now. Like, I think that happens more often than not. And then when the man does step out, all the other women are like, girl, he was a piece of shit anyway. Girl, he wasn't worth it. Girl, blah, blah, blah. When in actuality, you had a good ass man. You just didn't know how to maintain him.
That's all facts. All facts. Now, let me preface this by saying that this doesn't mean that every single guy is a good man. That goes without saying. But too many times I've heard of men that are in sexless marriages that is not even doing anything wrong. And you will see women online congratulating each other for walking out of a situation where all they had to do or all she had to do was put in a little bit more effort. You know, the same amount of effort that she was putting in when they first met, and she was really begging to get a ring and she was really desperate to be married to him. But then when she got comfortable or when she got into the situation, it automatically changed into something different because the new requirements set in all of a sudden after the honeymoon phase was over. Yeah, that type of situation where she required for him to put in more effort once they got married instead of them coming together, and she's not an effective communicator, but expected for him to do all of the things that he did to get her. You know, the woman that is emotionally connected to the person that she's at work with because he don't have to go home and deal with all of her. He only get the best of her. And so she's more submissive to her boss or to the guy that she's at her work husband with than she is to the person that actually loved her enough to give her to give him her his last name. That type of woman. It's a miserable existence for some of these people. Yet guys regularly stick it out. Good guys. Because contrary to popular belief, and I know that they created this narrative that tried to make it seem like at some point all men cheat, that is the biggest lie ever created on the face of this earth. No, all men do not cheat. A lot of men, most men, I believe, do not cheat. I think where that came from, if I'm being honest, I believe that came from a space where people considered cheating when you are just talking to a person or you're in a relationship and you're not married. I don't think that. I look at it very black and white. Now, I believe that there's a nuance. I believe that, obviously we've been putting, as a culture, as a society, we've been putting marriage rules on people that are not married. I know that there's a lot of, forever fiancés. All that is to me is an overglorified girlfriend. I think that the girlfriend boyfriend phase should phase out after about 20 years old, 20, 21 years old. And you know what it is. I don't think that there should be any expectation for a person unless they put their last name on you. And with that being said, you'll see women, and this is one of the reasons that guys fear. They don't fear getting married, they fear divorce because they get way more motion when they not with you. And when you provide a woman with that stability, eventually she adapts to it. And then you got to continue to raise a level higher and higher. I tell people a lot of times when I coach them, when they get into a relationship, when they starting to have that googly eyed, when they in a honeymoon phase, when they are smitten with each other, and I tell them, okay, well, what happens when a love wears off? How do you deal with a person once you get to a phase to where you actually get to see all of them, or you got to deal with the worst of them? Well, when I'm saying the worst, I'm not saying that a person is doing something wrong. I'm saying when they sick or when they're having problems or when they stressed out from their job or life is hitting them. You don't get to see that person when you're in a dating phase. You don't get to see that person prior to you necessarily getting married, because a lot of people are dating somebody's representative. And so I often at times say a couple different things. The first thing is, I don't believe that people should be so smitten with somebody that they're just not naturally networking with a person, so that the person that they wind up marrying turns out to be their best friend, because you get to authentically see who they are without you actually having interest in them. All right, that's the first thing. The second thing that I want to emphasize to you guys is, it's just bad. Let me shelf that for a second. I'll come back to that. It's bad when you are in a marriage, and I couldn't stomach it. And I would advocate for, and I always say, especially if you don't have kids, you got to be very careful who you align yourself with. I will never keep you from doing something that you don't want to do. Like, it shouldn't even be a situation where you are asking or you are begging for box. If you got to ask for box, if you got to beg for box, women should be wanting to willingly give that up to the person that really dedicate their life. That guy go out there and kill himself every single day to make sure that you happy. And you telling me he got to beg for box? That's insane to me. That is one of the most insane, crazy things that I've ever heard in my entire life. The minimum thing, you should want to give it away to a dude, because you'll give it away to the raggediest piece of shit trash that you've ever seen in your entire life, that is undeserving, and he'll do all of the nastiest, wildest things to you, and then you'll act extra reserved to the person that actually cares the most for you and is willing to lay down his life for you. I've seen women um, get widowed and treated the dude that they was with like trash. She wound up becoming a widow, still young enough to still be out here and figuring it out or whatever. She's not an old ladies, right? And they take the inheritance that the man leave them, pensions, life insurance money, savings, stacking, 401ks, all of that stuff, and they wind up spending it on dudes. I've seen them spending on dudes that ain't worth shit, and they spending his money on the other dude. That is so disrespectful to me. It is so disrespectful to me. And I think that women more often than not ruin good men versus the other way around. I know that there are guys that wind up turning a good girl bad. Shit, we had whole songs about it in the hip hop community. But I think that more often than not, the women ruin good men, and then men wind up turning dark. I don't think that the men that said men going your own way just did that just because they was upset or they was mad at something. Like that didn't just happen out of the blue. They did that because it was some stuff happening to them. Family court, using a kid against them. How can you say that you at one point love the person, but you're preventing them from being able to see their kid, or you're overtaxing them or overcharging them because you're bitter at them? How do you come to hate somebody that you was in a relationship so much, and you're willing to leverage family court? You want this guy to go broke so that you can, live a lifestyle. It is the most evil, demonic thing that I've ever seen in my entire life. And then we always want to say, well, we going to blame it on men, or we going to put that responsibility on men. But you want the equal and the access and the inclusion of everything that men have largely had access to, but you don't want to go through the things that men went through in order to build it for you to be able to, for you to run. We walked, we crawled, we grasped so you can run. And then you get to marriage, and then women are still putting traditional marriages on modern women and expecting to not give box, but they still expect to be taken care of for the rest of their life. Wildest thing I ever seen in my life. Always like to link back to the content creator. Make sure you guys tap into the Patreon link is in the description. Also, Teach Henley, 40% off your first order, 20% off for life. I love you. I'll see you on After Hours tonight. It's going to be a great show.